الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل: ولا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك ولا تبسطها كل بسطه فتقعد ملوما محسورا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in this verse, do not be tight-fisted nor so open-handed that you end up blamed and overwhelmed with regret. In this verse is one that is vitally important when we talk about being financially responsible, when we talk about how we should spend, when we discuss on where our money should go. And He Azza wa Jalla has said, do not fall into extremes. Do not put your hand here, meaning do not be cheap, nor should you open it completely and spend all of your money and be a spendthrift. We should always be in the middle. And we live in a society where it becomes very easy to spend. Next week, as many of you know, will be Thanksgiving, followed by Black Friday, and it's a very popular time for us to engage in shopping because we're all looking for deals, and all of these deals can be very attractive. And that's completely understandable. All of us would like a new phone. All of us would like a new TV. All of us would like a new laptop. And we come up with excuses and reasonings saying that, oh man, you know, my laptop is getting a little bit slow, and the TV, it's looking a little bit old. Man, I did need some new headphones, and this is a great deal. And while those feelings are fine, we really need to return back to this verse, and we really need to understand, okay, is this the right way to spend? All of these things are halal. Please, I don't want anyone to misunderstand. But the question is this the best for me? I can't dictate to everyone how they spend their money. And because my neighbor can afford a certain phone, it doesn't mean that I can afford it. Or if I have a certain car, it doesn't mean that the person across the street can have that same one. But we all have to learn how to make that judgment call. We have to learn how not to look cheap and not to be cheap. And if I do not care for the dunya, that's great, that's fine. But have I instilled those values in my children? Have I instilled those values in my wife? Are these things that are praiseworthy within the community? Because a lot of times, many of us confuse the idea of zuhud, right? This idea of abstinence, this idea of asceticism and staying away. And we think that zuhud is here, right? We think zuhud is here. When the reality is that zuhud is here. How much is this attached to my car? How much is this attached to my home? How much this attached to my children's education? How much this attached to my clothing? That is what zuhud is. And this is something that we all need to work on. Something that we need to understand, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me this. He's given me my phone. He's given me my home. He's given me my job as tools to my akhirah, to my final destination. And if I understand that these are just tools, at the end of the day, what do I do with my tools? I put them back in the drawer, and I go home. And the home for all of us, inshallah, is Jannah. And if we understand that this is not our home, if we understand that this is not our final resting place, why is it that we continue treating it like that? And it's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ends this verse saying that the one who allows himself to either be cheap or to either to be a spendthrift, they are only blameworthy to themselves. They are the ones who will sit in remorse. They are the ones who are going to come either in this world, and some of us have experienced this. Right? Sometimes we go to a restaurant and we eat the food and we regret that we shouldn't have eaten that food. We said, man, why did I spend so much money on this? Or sometimes when we bought that phone, we walk away. In the moment, we're really happy, we're really excited. And then an hour later, or maybe even less, we look down and like, man, what did I just do? And if we understand that and we know what those feelings are like, we have to learn not to make those same mistakes again and again and again. And it's amazing how we live in a society that encourages those mistakes. We live in a society where they say, oh, you want to borrow more money? No problem. Here, take some more. And how many of us fall into that trap? How many of us have maxed out our credit cards? How many of us are paying the minimum amount every month just to get by? Why? So I can show I have a nice car, to show I have a nice phone, to show I have a nice home, to show I have nice clothing. And at the end of the day, when I pass away, and we will all pass away, I don't even have enough money to pay for my own kafan, to pay for my own shroud, to pay for my own burial. Why? Because I was spending in all of these things around me. And it's amazing how Allah Azza wa Jal, when He talks about ideas like taqwa, when He talks about ideas like yaqeen, when He talks about ideas like qana'a, these ideas of certainty, these ideas of happiness, these ideas of reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of those are found here. You will never find them here. Even when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about your wives and your children, He calls them zina, zinatul hayatid dunya. That these are just ornaments. They're just beautification. And the idea behind ornaments and beautification, and I'm sure many of you have seen them, when you take something off the wall, whether it be a painting, or whether it be something hanging from a tree, and you find, what do you see? It looks really nice, but inside, it's usually empty. It's hollow. And that's how the dunya is. That it looks amazing. It looks beautiful. It looks wonderful. And sometimes when we scroll on Instagram or Facebook, what do we see? We see people in their private jets. We see people in their amazing cars. We see people with their luxurious watches, eating rich foods. And our heart, what does our heart do? يُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ هُبًّا جَمًّا. Right? Like we love that wealth. Our heart is drawn toward it. We want it. And when we see it, we want it more. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us time and again that it is not in these things that you'll find any love, nor will you find happiness, nor will you find contentment, nor will you find yaqeen. He Azza wa Jal, He tells us and He promises us, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. That whoever relies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah is enough for him. And it doesn't matter what kind of phone I have. It doesn't matter what kind of car I drive. It doesn't matter the type of clothing that I have. It doesn't matter the type of house that I live. Because I'm happy that Allah blessed me with the house. I'm happy that He blessed me with the car. I'm happy that He blessed me with the phone. I take stock of the things that I have. And I can use a very clear modern day example that I'm sure every single one of us is familiar with. That we sit here, it's freezing outside, but we have heat. We have electricity. If any of us gets thirsty, all we have to do is we go to the water fountain. After Salatul Jummah, many of us are going to go buy food. What about our brothers and sisters who have no food, who have no electricity, who have no water, who have no heat, and they're having missiles being dumped on their head? And when we look to those people, those are the people that are inspiring us. We say, subhanAllah, look at the iman of these people. Look at the iman of these individuals. Look at their taqwa. Look at their remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they have nothing. While we have everything, and we're still complaining that I don't have a nice enough car. Man, they need to turn the heat up a little bit. We complain about the smallest, most superficial things. Oh man, my car broke down again. Ya Habibi, that sucks. And that's terrible, I agree. But you have a car. You have a job. And yeah, nobody likes taking the bus. I've had to take the bus. And for those that have to take it, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only increase you in patience. It's hard. It's difficult. Sometimes the bus gets full. Sometimes it's cramped. Sometimes you're near people who you don't want to be near. Sometimes you have to deal with certain smells. Sometimes it takes 3 times as long as if you had taken your own car. Sometimes there are delays. There are things that are out of your control. And yeah, it's tough. But we're still safe. We still have warm clothing to wear. I still have Wi-Fi that is available from the bus. It's amazing, all of the ni'am and the blessings that we have. And He Azza wa Jal, He tells us and He reminds us, وَإِن تُعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. That if you even tried to count a blessing, ni'mah, He didn't say ni'am Allah, He said ni'matullah. He says if you try to count a singular blessing, just eyesight, just by itself, is there any way that I can actually understand the true blessing of eyesight? Or the true blessing of being able to hear? Or the true blessing of being able to even get up on the bus? And for those of you that have seen our unfortunate brothers who might be who are disabled in different ways and forms, who are on wheelchairs, how the bus has to drop for them, how it takes longer for them. We get upset that we have to take 2 steps. What about someone who can't even go up steps? We really have to give perspective to ourselves, give perspective to our families, give perspective to our community. That many times we don't understand a blessing until it is taken away. So what should we do so that we continue receiving these blessings? What efforts should we make that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps giving them to us? And that blessing doesn't necessarily mean that Allah will give me more money. It doesn't mean that He'll give me more children. It doesn't mean that He'll give me a bigger house. When He Azza wa Jal says, وَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, that whenever you are thankful, I will only increase you, I will only increase you here. That our hearts will only get bigger. That our chests will only widen. That we will only be happier with the situations that we have, even though we might be losing everything around us. And there are people who have faced that difficulty. Whether it be our brothers and sisters in Gaza, or whether it be some of our brothers and sisters here. And I'm sure every single person in here has their own story of when they know that they didn't know if they were going to pay rent. They didn't know if they were going to pay their electric bill. Maybe the water shut down on them. Maybe they lost their car. They lost a family member. They didn't know how they were going to continue, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still empowered them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still empowered us. He still gave us the power and the ability to get through whatever difficulty it was. And it can be hard, and it can hurt, and it can be painful. But He still allows us to do it. Why? Because that is from His infinite mercy. That is from His infinite qudra. That is from His infinite ability and kindness toward us. Because we don't deserve the things that we have. And if we want to maintain them, then we need to be thankful. Because, like I said, He promises us, وَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, that whenever you are thankful, I will only increase you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to increase us. Ameen. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. And this is a verse that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. And it is a verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats time and again. And He Azza wa Jal, He reminds us and He tells us, which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? Because everything that we have in this world is nothing but a favor. We do not deserve the eyesight that we have. We do not deserve the hearing that we have. We do not deserve, no matter how frustrated I am with my car, I am not deserving of it. No matter how frustrated I am with my house, I'm not deserving of it. No matter how frustrated I am with my job, I'm not deserving of it. And I need to learn to be thankful of the things that I have, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help me change my mindset, will help me change my outlook, and so that I can make dua to Him to put me in a better situation. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I still need to be happy with what I have, because if I am not happy with what I have, I will never be happy with what is given. That is a promise. If I cannot be happy today, then I will not be happy tomorrow. I need to learn to control my own happiness. I need to learn to control my own sadness. I need to learn how to channel these in the right way, in the proper way. No one can make me happy. Only I can make myself happy. I can show honor. I can show respect. I can show kindness. I can show courtesy. But I can never make you happy, just like you can never make me happy. That is my job. And your happiness is yours. And sometimes we put pressure on our children. Sometimes we put pressure on our families. I just want you to make me happy. No, ya Baba, you need to learn how to be happy. And it's natural to get upset. I understand that. And it's natural that we respond to things in a certain way. But the expectations we place on others, that's where it tends to be the harshest. That's where it tends to be the hardest. And if I have any expectations, if there's anything that I want, if there's anything that I need, if there's anything that I desire, ادعوني استجب لكم. That call on me and I will answer. That's where my expectation should lie. They should lie in my Lord, because He promises me that He will answer. He promises me that He will respond. It might not be in the way that I want it. It might not be in the time that I want it. It might not be how I want it, but I will get it. That is the yaqeen that I have. That is the conviction that I have. So if we want happiness, if we want contentment, then we need to understand the value of the things around us. And if we learn to value our assets, if we learn to value our families, if we learn to value our communities, if we learn to value the places where we live, if we learn to value our society, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only make us happier. And it's possible. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it so, that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us, he says, يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ نَاسٍ أَفْئِدَتُهُمْ كَأَفْئِدَةِ الطُّيُورِ. He said that there will be a group of people that enter paradise and their hearts will be as light as birds, and they'll be happy. They won't have any enmity. They won't have any jealousy. They won't have any malice. They won't have any greed. They don't worry about this world. They only worry about pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may He Azza wa Jal make us from those that please Him. We ask Him Azza wa Jal to have mercy on all of those who have passed. We ask Him Azza wa Jal to give shifa, to give healing to all of those who are ill. We ask Him Azza wa Jal, one of the brothers, he had come up to me before Salah, he had mentioned there's a brother, Muhammad, he's very ill. We ask Him Azza wa Jal to give him a complete and full shifa. One of our beloved brothers, Uthman Jilo, some of you might know him. He's a teacher for us here at Al-Hijrah. His mother, her cancer has come out of remission. She has been in the hospital for the past couple of weeks. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give her a full and complete recovery and to make it an expiation for her. We ask Him Azza wa Jal to help and aid our brothers and sisters in Gaza, in Sudan, in Burma, in Kashmir, in Yemen, and all over the Muslim world. We ask Him Azza wa Jal to help and aid all of our brothers and sisters who might be in any type of financial hardship, who might be in any type of debt, and we ask Him Azza wa Jal to gather us in His paradise, to allow us to drink from the blessed hand of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from his hawd. Wa aqim as-salah.